All right, now on the broadcast, we've got Dr. Aar Cohen, who's a professor of non-proliferation and terrorism studies at the Middlebury Institute. He's joining us from California. Dr. Cohen, thank you very much for joining us here on WION. Now, President Donald Trump has a very important decision to make. He's just had his meeting. But give us a sense, in your assessment, what is likely to be the president's decision? Because he's so far had always said that he's the president of peace. He wanted to end the forever wars that America had been embroiled in the Middle East and in other theaters of war. But now he's on the brink of taking the United States into yet another war.
Yeah, it's a very, very tough question. It's unclear. My own personal view is that he might choose to issue an ultimatum, possibly 24 or 36 hours for Iran to take certain actions and to agree for essentially surrendering or dismantling or some other verb vis-a-vis the nuclear program. In case of Iranian defiance, it's possible that the United States would go into action. As you noted, a number of nuclear facilities in Iran have been hit, apparently with significant damage. The only one that was still remain outside, essentially, is the most fortified, deeply dug-in facility, relatively small facility in Fordo, which is by the holy city of Qum. So it's only the United States that has the heavy weapons to penetrate, earth penetrating, that could have a damage to this one.
Right. Now, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has in fact asked the American president in as many words, saying that America should in fact join this war. In your assessment, what kind of military assistance is Netanyahu looking for here? Is it enough if the Americans were to carry out an attack on a facility like Fordo and then keep assisting Israel like what they've been doing in the last 5 days? Or do you think Netanyahu now expects the Americans to jump in and fight the war for him?
Well, it is kind of amazing that within 5 days of fighting, with remarkable first step, the first assault, which was accurate, intensive, and highly surprising, even though despite there was a lot of loud that Israel might do it, but the details were quite shocked Iran. Israel by now is the winning nation. The Israel has a full dominance, superiority over the sky of Iran, or definitely most of Western Iran. It has intelligence dominance. It's able to intercept targets, moving targets on the roads in Iran and many others. It has very clarity about the target it attacks, and it does it with manned aerial aircrafts as well as unmanned aircraft that essentially flying and hovering over Iran for a very, very long time.
Right.
So by now, the kind of request that Israel is asking from the United States, and in fact not openly asking, because Israel officially wants to say it's American decision, we are not asking, we are sharing information, but we're not asking, it's American decision. They're trying to emphasize that view. I don't think the United States had to do too much. I mean, the Fordo facility is a very important one. And of course, to facilitate a way to create some kind of regime of inspections that would lead into some kind of settlement and to prevent attrition war. The last thing that Israel wants to do is to be engaged in attrition war that goes on and on and on with diminishing results. So I think the United States could help with Fordo. I think the United States has the power to try to impose some kind of settlement and to move it from kinetics to diplomacy back again.
Interesting. Now, there's absolutely no parity between Iran and Israel, which of course is backed by the United States in terms of their technological prowess and also the kind of weapons that they have. Israel clearly has an edge. That fact is well established. But the fact that the Iranian missiles have been able to puncture through the Israeli air defense system and have been able to wreak a level of devastation that has never been witnessed in Israel's 7-decade-long history. In your assessment, that aura of invincibility that Israel had, do you think that has been dented because of the kind of damage that has been inflicted to cities such as Tel Aviv and Haifa?
Not really. In fact, to be honest with you, Israeli estimate was that after the Israeli first salvo in the first day, Iran would launch a very devastating attack. They talked about some scenarios, 800 casualties in the first night. This did not happen. Iran responded not in the next few hours, but after something like 17 or 18 hours. So there is a sense in Israel of actually positive surprise that the Iranian response has been weaker than expected, especially in the first few days. And by now, it's even more and more diminishing. Salvos of the last, for example, the last few hours are about 15 missiles, and they're essentially without any casualties. So yes, when they hit, there is a devastation as we saw it on the screen. But the expectation and the fear was for much worse than that. And by now, it seems to be even diminishing.
All right. Now, Netanyahu has spoken very openly about bringing about a regime change. Now, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is 87 years old. There is a clear line of succession. There are names that are doing the rounds of who would replace Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in case he's assassinated. Now, the American president has also alluded to this, saying that America knows exactly where Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is, but is not choosing to kill him at the moment. In your assessment, taking out the Iranian supreme leader, do you think that will bring about a collapse of the regime of the Ayatollahs, or is it much more complicated in the case of Iran?
Very difficult to say from the outside, but my gut feeling is that it's much more complicated than that. There is no doubt that the Iranian regime, has been weakened very, very significantly. Even though Netanyahu left ambiguous the possibility of hitting or targeting the Khamenei, I think the United States made it very clear that it would not do it, and it may have asked Israel for now not to do it as well. So there is an effort, I think, to keep, at least for now, some means of communication and to keep a certain kind of areas, certain kind of scenarios off the possibilities, such as assassination of leaders. Again, it's a very sensitive issue. The United States made itself more clear than Israel, but that's the way I read the situation.
And my final question to you, Mr. Cohen, is this. A lot of the Iranian military strategists are saying that this, hot war that is now dragged on for about 5 days has in many ways, they say, changed the rules of engagement. What this has exhibited is that Israel can seize the initiative and carry out a surprise attack as it did when it launched Operation Rising Lion. But the manner in which the ballistic missiles have wreaked havoc in some parts of Tel Aviv and Haifa shows that Israel can also be hit. And this changes the way future conflict in the Middle East will play out. What's your assessment of that?
Yeah, it's very interesting because Iran, as a matter of strategic decision, has chosen to have missiles, many of them, with some accuracy over aircraft. As you know, the few aircraft, combat aircraft that Iran has, the F-14 and the F-4 are old. They do not have all parts and so forth. So Iran decided to have missiles. I think Israel has much more accuracy. Israeli Air Force is able to reach Iran, in some cases with refueling, air refueling, in some cases without refueling.
Right.
And it is able to hit in precision that Iran cannot do with its own missiles. So we do have some lesson already in that competition between the missiles with some accuracy and aircraft with pilot and some without pilots. I think that planes and pilots are doing better than missiles.
All right. Interesting assessment. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Aar Cohen, for joining us with that perspective there.
Thank you very much.